Boxing fans, as you can see on the screen right here, this is Bruce Carrington's last fight against Jason Sanchez. A very experienced fighter, and Shushu went in there and looked fucking great, beating him, stopping him, making a huge statement. And based on his victories last year in 2023, Bruce Carrington was nominated for Prospect of the Year 2023, and he is my prospect of the week, or prospect in this week's video. Bruce Carrington obviously has the complete package. Currently, he's a 126-pound fighter. Obviously, he's going to be able to transition up to higher weight divisions, probably easily to at least 140 pounds, which would make him 126, 130, 135, potentially a 4-weight world champion. The possibility of moving up to 147 could be there. We have to see how his body matures and how he fills out as he gets older. But as far as measurements, right now, he's about 5'8". I think he has a 72 or 73-inch reach, which is pretty outstanding for that size frame. Very similar to Floyd Mayweather, who was 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. And when you look at Floyd Mayweather's resume, he never fought anyone that had a longer reach than him in his career. So, you know, that reach was pretty outstanding for his career. And for Bruce Carrington, this is obviously going to be a benefit for him as well, especially at these smaller weight divisions where you're facing guys that really naturally aren't as big as he is. They may be filled out more because they're older, but as far as the natural frame, they don't have the natural frame that he has. And he takes advantage of it with great boxing skills, with an outstanding jab, the ability to control range very much, fight when he wants to fight, get his punches off when he wants to throw them, and make sure that he's not there when the other guy is being aggressive. He shows very good defense. At this point, Bruce Carrington's at a point where we just need to see him continue to step up and continue to take on better and better opponents in his career. You think about him compared to a guy like, say, Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn obviously had more amateur pedigree than Bruce, and already in the pros, he's being fast-tracked a little faster than Bruce is. But Bruce, you won't find a more mature fighter for his age group and for you know, the group that he hangs out with. He hangs out with all those ESPN young guys, and when you listen to him talk, he has a lot of maturity. Right? He's very level-headed. You know, whenever he says something, you can see it's well thought out, and he's very well spoken. He's definitely a great representation for ESPN up-and-coming young boxers. Not just the natural package, but just the personality as well. He's a very likable, charismatic young man who obviously has a lot of potential moving forward. One of the main things they're talking about right now with regards to him is him potentially being the guy who might be the guy that could beat the monster Inoue when he chooses to move up to 126. Obviously, that's not going to be happening anytime soon. Carrington hasn't even faced a top 10 opponent yet at 126, and he's obviously not a world champion yet either. So those are a few things he still has to accomplish before the possibility of him and Inoue actually fighting is really even something to contemplate. But I can understand why people are trying to find someone that they can latch on to, that they think potentially could beat Inoue. And obviously a lot of people are anti-Inoue, so they will continue to look for that person who they feel can do that. And just possibly, it may be Carrington. But realistically, you got to look at that fight probably happening somewhere late 2025 before it's probably even something to really consider. And maybe even 2026. And time goes fast. I know that sounds a long time from now, but, you know, I mean, 2026 is just around the corner. Obviously, we just got into 2024. Carrington's probably going to fight at least 3 times this year. Top Rank has done a great job keeping their young fighters busy and showcasing them and putting them on good fight cards so that people get to see them and to build up their fan base. For Carrington, you can see that this is going to be probably a big year for him as far as the level of opposition he faces moving forward, getting him prepared for inevitably a world title fight. I don't see a world title fight happening in 2024, but I definitely see it happening sometime in 2025. And once he becomes a 126-pound champion, if he's able to stay at that weight class in this time, then the possibility of him and Inouye becomes a real thing. Inouye isn't going to be going to 126 probably in 2024. The way it's being laid out by Inouye's team and his promoter, he's probably going to fight 3 times this year, even though it's unfortunate that his first fight this year has sort of been pushed to May. It would have been better if it was a little earlier in the year, but it is what it is. Obviously, it's going to be at the Tokyo Dome, and for an event of that size and that magnitude, you got to make sure that the Tokyo Dome is available so you could book it. In a place like that with all the events and everything that it has, it's not as easy to do as you would think. So he's going to be fighting in the Tokyo Dome. There's a conversation about him going to Saudi Arabia, which probably would make that sometime around July, August, September, because we know that they're trying to get fights started sometime around there, even though it is the middle of summer. So I don't know the rationale behind that, but they're talking about Bilal Beterbiev being in June, when it's going to be the middle of summer in Saudi Arabia. So it's going to be hot as all hell. And then there's talk about potentially him going to fight in the States to be the final fight of his year. But we'll see how that fixes out, how it works out. Obviously, if it's a late December fight, it would make more sense to do it in Japan. We know Japan consistently always does New Year's Eve cards in December. So that would make a lot of sense to do his final fight in Japan if that's the case. But the possibility of Inouye and Bruce Carrington somewhere down the line is a real possibility. But Carrington's going to have to prove that he is an elite fighter at 126. He's going to have to win a world title, potentially become a unified champion to really show his dominance in that division. Obviously, him being part of ESPN is going to open up the door for that Inouye fight. If he wins the WBO title, which is pretty much something that ESPN fighters generally do, then that's going to be another sort of smoothing of the path to make that fight a possibility. That's why people expected Robsy Ramirez to potentially be the opponent. But Robsy Ramirez got beat by Espinoza. I think they're going to have a rematch, so we'll see what happens moving forward with regards to that. But none of that's going to be happening until 2025. So for Carrington, what he needs to do is focus on the top potential fights for him at 126 pounds. Let's just open up my iPad right now and think about maybe some of the type of fights or fighters that would be viable and potentially good matchups for a young fighter like Bruce Carrington. Box Rick, where are you? There you are. So right now, if we scroll down, I think Carrington is top 50 right now by BoxRec. There he is, currently ranked number 47, currently 26 years old, same age as I think Shakur Stevenson. So he's not a young fighter. Obviously, he's not going to be waiting around forever at that age. You know, eventually, within the next couple of years, he's going to make sure that he has to jump at the opportunity. Currently, he is 10-0. 10-0 with 6 KOs. And as I said, he is 5'8" with 72-inch reach. So the same physical dimensions as Floyd Mayweather. Obviously, by the time Floyd was 26 years old, he was far more accomplished than Bruce Carrington is. When we look at who Bruce Carrington has faced, you know, it's not the best and brightest of fighters. He's been fighting good quality names, but obviously he needs to upgrade his level of opposition. When we think about guys in and around his weight division now that potentially would be good opponents. A guy like Angelo Leo, who currently is ranked number 41. Angelo Leo is a 29-year-old fighter, obviously one loss already, a guy that is American. So that would be a very intriguing fight between two American fighters. Angelo Leo is a very aggressive come-forward fighter, which could definitely benefit Carrington and the way he fights. That would be a fight I would be very excited about. Even a guy like, say, Ruben Villa. Ruben Villa is ranked 33, also a guy with only one loss in his resume, 26 years of age, the same age as Carrington, yet 27 fights. He's already had 17 more fights than Bruce Carrington. He's an aggressive fighter. That would be another great step-up fight. Carrington against either one of those fighters right now, and a really impressive victory catapults him close to a top 15 and a definitely multiple ranked fighter by different sanctioning bodies. We can keep scrolling through. You also have Joet Gonzalez right there. Obviously a far more seasoned fighter, 26-4, 30 years of age, a guy that everyone's faced. Either one of those three fighters would be an unbelievable scalp for Shushu Carrington's resume at this point of his career. Like literally, like nobody could see that and not be like impressed with that step up, that level. And none of these fighters are that much out of his range. You know, Joet Gonzalez is ranked 27th, obviously Ruben Villa 33, and Angelo Leo 41, Carrington currently 47. So they're all step ups for him. Obviously him moving forward and taking on opponents. Even a guy like Carlos Castro right there, you know, another seasoned fighter, 29 years of age, another very good opponent. Like any of those four guys, I'd be fucking blown away with that level of opposition, right? They're all American, so they're all English-based fighters. They could help sell the promotion. This could be Bruce Carrington's first headline event against an opponent of this nature, unless you're going to put it on a big fight and obviously have it as the next fight behind it. But you know, then moving forward, you get to the real top level guys, and obviously it's a little early for those level of guys. And you got other fighters that aren't American, but if you're trying to sell Bruce Carrington and really build him up in the US, it'd be better to put him in with opponents that people were more familiar with, right? People that when he beat them, it would get him more benefit. Whereas you could put him in with some tough fighters from Mexico, from England, from Japan, and fighters from abroad, but the American audience may not be as quick to jump on those opponents as they would for these four Americans. Which of those four guys would you prefer to see Bruce Carrington get in the ring with next? And those are obviously all step-up fights. There's obviously guys ranked behind him, but you know, guys ranked behind him are not bad opponents, but obviously they're not as intriguing. It's not really seen as step-up. You know, they would be opponents that obviously people would expect him to beat. Example, like a guy like Jesse Magdalena, 32 years of age, 29-2. But don't get me wrong, Jesse Magdalena would be a great opponent, right? Jesse Magdalena currently is ranked 68th, so he's quite a bit behind Bruce Carrington. But he's seasoned, he's an ex-world champion. You know, that's the kind of opponent that even though he's obviously his best days are behind him, people would look at that and they'd be pretty excited by it. They would see that as a fight that was really a step up based on everybody he's faced so far in his career. Or you could do what we see the UK do a lot, which is put him in with a similar type of fighter, another young, very good fighter, and this is an opportunity for the better of the two to really make a statement by beating the other guy. And a guy like that would be potentially Duke Reagan, right? US Olympian. Same age, 26 years old, only 9 victories, 1 less than Bruce Shushu Carrington. But there's a lot of similarities between Duke Reagan and Shushu Carrington. Two very skilled fighters, long outboxers, good jabs, very good fundamental fighters. That would be obviously a very intriguing fight as well, because it would be two prospects right? Somebody's O has got to go. And that would be very intriguing. Obviously, you probably wouldn't put that on a headline event, but it would definitely be a fight that got a lot of attention from hardcore boxing fans. And with Duke Reagan's Olympic pedigree, you know, that has something that, you know, you can actually latch onto as well. So out of those 5 Americans, and we got quite a different array of guys, young, up-and-coming prospect, ex-world champion, probably on his way out, 4 real top-level contenders, all very experienced, but none of them are past their prime. None of them are too old. They still have a lot left in the gas tank. Those would be potentially outstanding opponents for Shushu Carrington in 2024. Who would you like to see him in with? Which of those fights do you think would be the toughest matchup for him? And which one would you give him more credit for? Hats off to Bruce Carrington. I'm excited to see what Shushu does in 2024. Hopefully he picks up where he left off against Jason Sanchez in this fight. It was an outstanding performance, and it definitely shows his true upside and potential. So let me know what you think about Shushu. What would you like to see him do next? Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace out.